Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And P.I.L.L stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Today, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about debt busting and taking care of those mortgages, credit cards, student loans, whatever debt that you have. This is our beginning of our third season, episode number 1, and we want to invite you to be with us. And we're going to pin the link for you here on Clubhouse. I'm sorry, on YouTube to join us in the conversation. So if you're watching us, all right, we're going to put the link in there for you so that you can not only just watch us, but you can interact. So we got people showing up already. We need you in the conversation today. All right. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and let me get to my comments. Let me say good morning. All right. Good morning to everyone. All right. And tell us where you're from. And if you would please go ahead and click that link that's pinned to the top so that you can go ahead and join the conversation. We want you on stage with me, and we'll be able to converse, and you'll be able to talk back. You'll be able to ask your questions. Anything that you want to know about debt is going to happen today. Not only that, but listen, we're going to be talking about how to understand what the bank has been doing to us for since 1936. Okay, we're going to give you an opportunity to get in here. So tell us where you're from. Go ahead and tell us where you're from, and we're going to get started here in just a minute. All right. Sharon, I see you, Sharon, from Pulaski, Tennessee. All right. Who else is in here? Who else do we have in with us? We got Sharon in here. Thank you, Sharon. Who else is watching us? We got Christina Ward. Great morning, great Christina. Where are you from? All right. Who else do we have in here? All right. So let me put in here that I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. Good morning from Huntsville. There we are. Huntsville, Alabama. Okay. All right. Let me see. Natalie D'Souza. Let me see what we have here. All right. Good morning to you. All right. Happy New Year from New York City. All right. Okay. Got New York in the house. All right. Let me see. All right. So, folks, here we go. Here's what we're going to talk about today. We want you to know the truth about busting debt. The truth about busting debt. Number 1, here it is. Write it down. You don't need more money to get out of debt. That's number 1. I need you to write that down. You don't need more money to get out of debt. What you need is to pay less interest. That is the hardest thing for people to get to understand. Good morning, Sonia N. Smith from Brooklyn, New York. Good to see you. I've got M. Bolin here from New York. Good morning to you. You want to understand this one thing. This is the very thing that the bankers hope we never pay attention to. The first thing, remember this question. Maybe this will help. If all of your debt was 0% interest, would there be any financial benefit to pay the debt off early? I need you to put your questions, to put your answers in the chat. Okay. If you have any, if of all of your debt was interest, was 0% interest, would there be any financial benefit to paying off your debt? Let's hear about it. Yes or no? All right. Embolden says no. Okay. No. There's no financial benefit. So tell me this. If you know that to be true, then why does every program on the planet focus on how much you owe rather than how much it costs to manage what you owe? Can I show you something here so that we can understand what that means? What does it mean? We're going to put something on the screen here. 6% right there. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm going to put that on there so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me get rid of these ads. I don't want to look at the ads. All right. There we go. I have a $200,000 mortgage at 6%, a small mortgage at 6%. Okay. Here's the first thing. Interest rate is a liar. Interest rate is a liar. We need to understand that. We're all trying to get to interest rate and understand getting a lower interest rate is the best thing you could possibly do. Let me tell you something. Unless you want to make every single payment, and this is a 360-month loan. This is 360 months or 30 years. If you want to make every single payment for 30 years, yes, get the lowest interest rate you can. If you want to make every single payment, get the lowest interest rate you can. But with the P.I.L.L method, did you realize you can turn 360 payments or a 30-year loan into maybe 84 payments? Yeah, right around 7 years. All right. Stephen Mack says, if we knew better, we would do better. That's right. That's right. Listen, I need you all to go ahead and share this, and go ahead and click that like button as well, because it helps the algorithm. All right. And if you're new to us here in YouTube, go ahead and subscribe as well. All right. So watch this, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 6%. But look how much interest the bank wants, $231,676. $231,000 interest on a $200,000 loan. Listen, that is not 6%. Can I show you? Let me show you something else. Even if we can't get this anymore, but let me do this for you. Okay. We're going to do something else. We're going to add this to the mix. I'm going to put in the same $200,000 mortgage. I'm going to put it in not at 4%, but at 3%. And show you something very interesting. Let's get rid of these ads again. Okay, there we go. All right. At 3%, $200,000 at 3%, the bank wants $103,555.60. I need to hear from you. Does that look like 3% to you? Does that look like 3% to you? In fact, it's 51%. All 3% loans for 30 years are actually 51% loans because the bank wants you to pay back over 50% of what you borrowed, not 3%, 51%. So the first thing we have to understand is, and Natalie D'Souza talked about, is saying truth in lending. Okay. Everything you get on your loan document is the truth from a particular standpoint. But the bank is not, I repeat, the bank is not in the business of explaining what this means. They want you to have the good feelings of having a low interest rate while they get to charge 50%. Do you see what I'm talking about here? So if you want to understand what's going on, you need to understand from the ground up how debt actually works, how the bank makes their money. And when you understand how they make their money, then you can know what to do about it. But if you don't, if you never have a class, if you never have any understanding, if you've never been trained on how the debt actually works, then how can you do anything about it? I need everyone in here. Okay. I need to get as many people in here as possible. And please come up to the stage. Come on stage with me today. Click that link and add yourself to the stage. Let's get into this conversation. What does Natalie have to say? Says she's a mortgage professional. She says she's a mortgage professional. I see this every day. No one focuses on the compounding. No one focuses on the interest cost. They're looking at the interest rate. And we need to understand this. So listen, do a couple of things. Listen, get on in here. Let's talk about it. Okay. The link is there. And number two, share this information with as many people as possible. Share this with as many people as possible. We're going to even talk about how you can become an affiliate with the P.I.L.L method so that not only as you're sharing it, you can get paid for sharing. All right. So let's go back to the original $200,000 at 6%. I want to show you what we need to focus on here. So we're going to break this thing all the way down from the beginning. All right. So now I'm going to also look for let me see here. We're going to put on the formula. Okay. We're going to understand it from the ground up. Here is the formula that amortizes your loan. That's the formula that amortizes your loan. You can't do anything effective about debt until you understand this thing from the ground up. This is the formula that amortizes your loan, meaning the bank is going to give you a payment you can afford, but it is also too expensive to continue to maintain. What? A payment you can afford, but too expensive to maintain. What does that mean? So when you pay your mortgage, when you have a mortgage, student loan, credit card, car loan, okay, the way that this thing breaks down is so that you can have a payment every single month so that you can stretch out those payments, because coming up with 200, 300, 400, and the median home price right now is $420,000 across the US. That's the median home price. Not too many people have that in their bank account to go ahead and purchase that home. So they go to and they get a mortgage, and it's stretched out for 30 years. You know, I just came back from Dubai. I went to Dubai in March. And if you look at my Instagram, just go to P.I.L.L Method and you'll find my Instagram. There were luxury cars lined up outside my hotel like I've never seen before. Some of those cars cost 200, 300, for $500,000. There were a couple of cars out there that cost over $1 million. And if they didn't pay cash for the cars, they got a loan for the car. And guess what? All the loans, no matter how expensive that car was, if they got a loan on it, it had to be paid off within 7 years. A $200,000 car has to be paid off within 7 years. So, folks, if you can pay off a car in 7 years, how come we can't pay off a house in 7 years? Have you ever thought about that? And they're not, listen, it isn't because it can't be done, because they're continuing to make those cars. We need to learn how to treat your house like a car so that you can manage not just your mortgage, but all of your debt can be done in 7 years once we understand it from the ground up. So here, this is the formula that does the work for you. This is the formula that does the work for you. So if this is the formula, let's go back to putting this on the screen. So if we have this as our formula, what does that really mean? Let me break this down piece by piece. Here's how the bank takes that 6% and with that formula breaks this loan down to where the first payment only $199.10 goes to principal. That's the amount that you owe. $1,000 goes to interest. This is your mortgage payment in the first column. No, Don, my mortgage payment is $1,199.10. No, it isn't. Your mortgage payment is $199.10 because that's all the money that goes to your mortgage. Okay? This $1,000 goes to the investor. Okay? O'Neill Parker, what's up, man? Come on in. Listen, you better come on in here. Don't stay out there. Come on in here. All right? And support. All right. Listen, $200. Look at this. Look at this. $200. $200 for 1 year. For 1 year. Look at this. 1 year. $200 a month goes to pay back the mortgage. That's the mortgage payment. You know what this is over here in the interest column? That's rent on your money. How many of you want to continue to pay rent on your money forever? You see, the reason why there's a big push for people who dwell in apartments, renters, to move into houses, they say, stop renting that house and start buying that house. We go from renting the apartment to renting money. Folks, what is the difference? Renting the apartment or renting money forever? Look, I just need to hear from you. I just need to hear. Listen, put it in the chat. Do you want to rent money forever? Yes or no? Put it in the chat for me. Yes or no? All right. Put that in the chat for me. I'd like to be able to see that. All right. So as you're typing that into the chat, let's break down how the bank actually does this to us. So we're going to take that 6% interest rate, 6% interest rate, and break this thing all the way down. So we put this in as a decimal, it's 0.06. Then the bank takes that number, all right? Bank takes that number and then divides it by 12. You wanted to know how the bank gets to charge all of that interest, how they get to turn a 6% loan into 115%. This is how they do it. Okay? It's called the rate of change. The rate of change is so small that this thing allows us to do this. So they take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply it by the balance. The original balance on this loan is $200,000. So they take 0.005, which is 1/12 of the interest rate, and multiply it by $200,000. And that equals $1,000. That's the very first interest. Okay. So out of that payment of $1199.10, $1,000 goes to interest. Here's what you need to understand about this. Everybody who's paying a mortgage, everybody who has debt, I need you to think about this as you are the consumer. And what you're doing is that you are contracting as a consumer, you're contracting with a business that buys your house or your car or your education, because they're who's paying for it, and you're purchasing it back. They buy the house, you buy it back. All right. And they set up this system that nobody knows anything about, but everybody uses. One more time. They use a system that no one knows how it works, but everybody has to use it. And because nobody is complaining, they continue to use it. So we borrow that, they buy the house and we buy it back. And when you do this, $1,000 goes to out of the money that you pay. $1,000 of those dollars does not count. When you make a payment of $1199.10, $1,000 of that payment does not count towards paying off your loan. Okay? Which means the amount that's left pays down the loan. $199.10 goes to the principal. Let's take a look at this $1,000 a little more closely. We're going to take that $1,000 and divide it by the original payment. And we're going to see, using a little math, what percentage of my payment is just interest alone? What percentage of this payment? So we take the 1,000, we divide it by $1,199.10. And we find out that 83% of my payment is interest. 83% of the money that I give the bank does not count. Can you imagine that when you go to buy gas, that 83% of your payment would not count of every dollar that shows up on the pump? Of every dollar, 83 cents does not count. That means 17 cents. 83, yeah, 17 cents. 93, another 7, 17 cents. Only 17 cents out of every dollar you pay towards this mortgage is paying off the house. Only 17 cents out of every dollar. 83 cents out of every dollar does not count for you. Can I give you an example? If you bought gas this way, where only 17 cents actually counted, okay? And you wanted to put $45 worth of gas into your car. We take $45, okay? $45, all right? And if it counted this way, I want to fill up my car the way $45 used to. If you do it this way, you take 17 cents, you divide it by 17 cents. It would take $264.70. $264 to fill up your car to get $45 worth. It would if this would if it would take $264 if only 17 cents out of every dollar actually went into the gas tank. The rest went to taxes or went to something else. $264 to fill up your car. You would not stand for that. But because nobody breaks this down, to you, we stand for that. Listen, what do I have to do to get somebody to come in? Just to click that link and come into the studio. Let's have a quick conversation, especially if you are in real estate or mortgages, or maybe you just bought a home. Maybe you've already bought a home, or maybe you're getting ready to buy a home and you want to buy one. We're going to demystify this for you and show you how you can borrow money at a discount. You don't need to be afraid of this process. You can understand the process. You can understand the process better. You can understand the process better than the mortgage professional that is providing you the loan. They're just doing you a favor, filling out the paperwork. You're going to understand this thing from top to bottom. Okay? On how, if they want $200,000 in interest, oh no, they may get 50. Okay? They may get 75. Listen, come on stage. You don't have to be on camera. Come on stage. You don't have to be on camera, but we need to have your conversation in here. All right. So listen, we don't want a situation where 83% of our money goes to interest. How would you like to turn that around? What? You can turn that around? You better believe you can turn it around. Meaning, how would you like it if more of your money went to principal and you made it impossible for the bank to charge you interest? Because see, listen, they don't make anything. They don't produce anything. All they do is rent money, and they want to rent it for as much as they can for as long as they can. And I am so upset about this fact that why in the world would we ever have a system where the most ubiquitous financial tool on the planet, I mean, the most used financial tool on the planet, the most popular financial tool on the planet is the amortized loan. And we get absolutely zero training on how it works. Okay? Okay, I understand. Okay, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this. If you have any questions about it, come in. All right, come on. So we've got this $199, $200, 201, 202. When I make this payment of $199.10 out of my nearly $1,200, I subtract that from the $200,000 that I owe, and I'm left with $199,800.90. Then the bank uses this number multiplied by 1/12 of the interest rate, which is 0.005. Okay. 1/12 of the interest rate is 1,005. And then they take this new number, $199.80, because the rate of change, meaning how much is going to principal, how much is changing, how much I owe. The rate of change is so small. Okay. It takes a lot of payments to get to $200,000 because they set it up so that whatever I pay, 83% of what I'm paying goes over here to somebody else, while only $199.10 of what I'm paying count towards me. Okay. 17 cents out of every dollar count towards paying off the debt. That's the rate of change. The rate of change is so small. So if we do this, so now I owe $199,800.90. So I'm going to multiply it by 199,000 $800. Oops, come back. $800.90. Okay. That equals $999. That's how they get the second interest cost. That's how they charge me rent again on how much I owe. Now, what is going on with this mortgage? Why is it so expensive every single month? Why do they take so much of my money? Because this formula basically says you think it's one mortgage for $200,000. What this formula actually does is take that $200,000 mortgage and turn it into 360 separate mortgages. That's why it's so expensive. 360 separate mortgages. Let's go back. Let's take a look at this. 360 separate mortgages. And each time it comes up every month, you've got to pay through the concept of a tiny bit of the money I just paid goes to pay back the loan. The rest of the money is counted as interest. That means I have to pay again and again and again to add up to $200,000. But what if I can increase the rate of change? Did you know that this is just a suggestion? To pay the bank on time every month. Do you see how I want you to see how they set this thing up psychologically. Psychologically, if we pay our bills on time every month, do you know that all they can, listen, they set up a system where we get a great credit score and we can feel good about our 780, 790, our 800, our 825, our 850 credit score for being a good little doobie and paying on time. All I have to give them is a credit score and they will pay on time. Paying on time means you pay according to the bank's schedule. When you pay according to the bank's schedule, it costs you a lot of money. And the money that it costs you, listen to this, you are taught to lose track of the money. You are taught to lose track of that. Yeah. Lose track of the interest cost. When you lose track of the interest cost, then it is a lot easier to give that money to the bank because you just get into the habit of making your payment. So the rate of change is so small and we get into the habit of just making the payment. We get locked into $11.99.10 as our payment. And every single month we get used to that. It only takes 2 or 3 months to get used to it. But let me show you what happens at the end of 1 year. By getting used to it, at the end of 1 year, $2,456 and a penny goes to principal, pays down the loan. Look how much money didn't pay down the loan, but you actually paid that out. This went out of your family's budget. This went out of your family's storehouse. The money that you're trying to set aside to build wealth with, this went out $11,933.19. Let me break this down another way. To move this loan from $200,000 from the very beginning to where I owe $197,543.99 1 year later. Okay. It costs, if I follow the bank's recipe, it will cost me $11,933.19 in that does not count towards me. They charge me to borrow their money for 1 year I'm being charged $11,933.19 as a suggestion. What? This 11,933.19 is a suggestion? A suggestion. It is not a law. I don't have to pay that. Nope. We've never been told that this is a suggestion. We've been told that this is something we absolutely have to do, and we are conditioned to do it because we're conditioned to pay once a month to get a good credit score. Okay, somebody gave me a comment here. Let me take a look and see what the comment. We are taught to lose track. Sonia and Ms. Smith says, we're taught to lose track of the interest cost. Can you repeat or explain that, please? Here's how we're taught to lose track, Sonia. Thank you for saying that. Listen, I really wish you could come into the studio with me. But anyway, watch this. For 1 year, for the first year, look how much interest cost we pay 1 year. After 2 years, this loan is only paid down by $5,063.50, but $23,000 went out into interest. Do you know every client that comes to the P.I.L. method that fills out a request for a savings and earnings report? Every time they come to get a savings and earnings report, they are sometimes they come to us 5 years in, Sonia. They've been in their house for 5 years, and then they come to us. If they have this mortgage for 5 years, let me show you 60 months on this thing. They have no idea that they've only paid their mortgage down by $13,891.20, but they paid out $58,000 in interest. They lost track of how much interest they've actually paid, and the bank is counting on that. You should see the faces of the people I work with when I point out how much interest they've paid. And this is a small mortgage. What if it was the median home price? Let's duplicate this tab. The median home price is not 200,000. The median home price is 420,000. Okay. Right now, interest rates are around 6.5%. Get rid of the ad. Okay. 6.5%. 420,000. The payment is 2,600. I put too many zeros in here. I put 4 million. Hold on. 420 million. Too many zeros. Let's take that out. There we go. That's live TV for you folks. There you are. $2,654.69. That's the payment. Okay. On this, the bank wants $535,000 in interest on this, on a $420,000 loan. That's 127% of what you borrowed. We lose track on this. Let me get rid of the ad. We lose track on this. Let's go down 5 years. So once you get used to making that payment and you're in this loan for 5 years, you only pay this loan down by $26,000. But look how much interest you will have paid out of your hard-earned money. Look at that. Okay? Of your hard-earned money, 132,000 of your dollars. That means 132,000 plus the 26,000 that went to pay down your loan. So if we do 132,000 for 47 and 20 cents plus the $26,000 that went to principal to pay down the loan, plus 26,834 and 20 cents equals 159,281.40. That's how much money was paid out in just 5 years. You think, for some reason, ladies and gentlemen, you think you don't have a lot of money. I'm here to tell you that if you can afford this mortgage, you have plenty of money. It's just too much of your money is going to the wrong column. Lord have mercy. Too much of your money is going to the wrong column. Why should all this money go over here when it doesn't have to? This is a suggestion. It is not a law that you have to pay this. Let me give you an example. Okay? So that's what I mean by losing track. That's what I mean by losing track. So it is so easy to lose track of how much of our money is being siphoned off. This is money, just 5 years in, this is money that can be used. If you can pay it, listen to this. If you can pay it, you can save it. If you can pay it, you can save it. What? And if you can save it, you can invest it for yourself. This is money you cannot invest for your family long term and make compound interest on it. You can't. Okay? So if you just knew how easy it was not to do this. Oh, look at Sonia. Thanks. Sonia says, thanks for explaining. Yeah. That's in capital letters. That's big highway robbery. Oh my gosh. All right. With a crying emoji. Listen. What if you decided not to follow the bank's rules on this? What if you decided not to do it the bank's way and you decided you wanted to do it your way? What if you could choose the timing in which to pay back the debt yourself? I want to pay back the money I owe when I feel like it. All right. I have a monthly mortgage payment, but that's not all I can do. That monthly mortgage payment won't go away. But what if I could do that? Boy, I wish I could. Listen, I got Byron in here. Byron, thank you for the support, my brother. Come on listen, I know you're busy. Come on inside. Let's chop it up just a little bit. But I need you to see this. I need you to see this, everybody. What if you chose to make a mortgage payment here? I'm making a mortgage payment. And look at what else you could do. Let's say you have a little bit of money in the bank. Guess what? If you have money in the bank, it's making 0.1%. And I meet people all the time that have several $1,000s in the bank. All right. I'm going to add this. There you go. So you get another view to play around with there. All right. So listen, here's what you can do. Let's say you make a payment in January. My payment is made in January. And once I make my payment in January, then I'm all done for January. But that's not all you could do. The next principal payment is $381.75. And I'm going to break this thing all the way down. You want to know how to bust your debt in 7 years? You can't do it unless you understand what they're doing to us. Okay? You've got $381.75 sitting in the bank. Let's say you have that, and you already made your mortgage payment. Do you know you can take that $381.75 out of the bank and give it to the mortgage company or give it to your bank early and your own timing? Once you make a mortgage payment and you send them any other money in the same month, that's called a prepayment, and it is your right to pay back your loan the way you want to pay it back. And I want to show you something about that. Let's say you take $381 out of a bank account that's making 0.1%. What does that mean, Don? 0.1%. I'm not going to get into all the math, but If you have money sitting in a savings account and they send you that statement and you look on that statement and you see the 2 or 3 or 4 pennies that they gave you because you kept your money in the bank, that's what I'm talking about. All that money you have in the bank and the pennies they pay you to keep it in the savings account. We're taught to do that because we believe cash is king. Cash ain't king, okay? A wise use of somebody else's money is king. Watch this. Take that $381, put it towards the principal. You're paid down to line 2 because they have to subtract in January. They have to subtract this from what you owe. And if you give them any other money in January, they have to subtract it from what you owe. But guess what? Out of that $381.75, all of it goes to pay down the loan. None of it, zero, goes to interest. Okay? So let me do it this way. If you pay this on time to give the bank $381.75, you must also give them $2,272.94 for the privilege of giving them $381.75. But if you give it to them early, look what happens. You're paid down to here early, not next month, but now. They have to use this number now to figure out how much interest you owe, and that brings you down to line 3. So if you start this process in January, the payment for March actually moves up one because you just destroyed February's payment. The payment that they wanted you to make in February is now gone. Line 2 is now been eliminated from your amortization schedule. You're shrinking the amortization schedule because you're now learning how to read this thing. Remember those commercials years ago that says reading is fundamental? Reading an amortization schedule is fundamental to you learning how to bust up your debt. And if you're not learning to read this thing, you are behind the 8 ball before you even get started. And I'm even talking about real estate investors. I'm even talking about real estate investors who are making thousands upon thousands of dollars in cash flow. But they're not understanding the fact that you don't have to pay all of this interest to make that cash flow. Watch this. So since we're on line 3 now, this is my new February payment. What happened to my old February payment? What happened to the $2,272.94 in interest I did not have to pay? It's gone. It's eliminated. It has been canceled. In other words, this $381.75, this is equity. Do you want to pay $2,000 for your equity, $2,200 for your equity? Or do you want to get your equity for free? By giving them this money early, you just got that equity for free, not for $2,000. And when you do the math, what is my return on investment? I just saved $2,272.94. What did I pay to get that? What did I invest to get that? I invested $381 out of my savings account that's making 0.1%. Pennies. So I'm dividing it by 381.75. It equals 595, but I multiply this by 100. That tells me that's the rate of return on my money. 595.4% return on my money. Now it's not making 0.1%. When I take it over to here and invest it in this mortgage, I just made a 595% return on my money, nearly 600%. Why would you keep money in a bank account making 0.1% when you can have it making 600% 100%. This is what they don't want you to understand. Not only that, but this $2,000 that you didn't spend over here, you realize you could spend it somewhere else. Here's what I mean. You do this thing, right. You do this thing right. Instead of giving the bank $535,000 in interest to own this property, let's say we can cut that all the way down to about $200,000 to own this property. You take 535,000, okay? 535,000, 688 and 40 cents. Subtract 200,000, which you could pay. That's $335,000 you did not have to spend to own this property. What? Yeah, because your property didn't, if you follow the bank's plan, your property doesn't cost you $420,000. Your real interest cost on this loan is $955,000. Your real true cost on this house is $955,688.40 if you follow the bank's plan. Don't follow the bank's plan. You can follow your own plan. We can help you to follow that plan. Okay? We can help you to follow a plan where you could get the same property for $335,000 less. That's money you didn't have to spend. What if you said, since I didn't have to spend it, what if I continue to take that money that I didn't spend and periodically and strategically and methodically invest money every single month until I invest all $335,000 I didn't have to spend and make somewhere between 6 and 8% on it? Do you realize in the time that you would have paid this mortgage off, this money that you didn't have to spend would be worth over $1 million, way over $1 million. This is the big problem with the way we do finance in America today. So what do we have here? Sonia, what do we have? Says, Don, I have been paying a little more each month at the time of paying the monthly mortgage. It would benefit me more if I pay a little extra at another date in the month. So Sonia, I'm not getting down to the real nitty gritty here. I'm just showing the basics, but can I show you something about that? I need you all to understand, because Sonia asked this question. Thank you very much, Sonia, for bringing this to our attention. Because you can choose however much to pay, there's a point at which paying too much can act at the wrong time can hurt you. Yeah. It's called the law of diminished return. You want, let's break it down. You want to save as much money as you possibly can per dollar that you place on the mortgage. That's how deep the math can go on this. Yeah. How effective is every dollar? Okay. So let me show you what I mean. Okay. So if we take the first year on this mortgage, okay, the first year on this mortgage here, the $420,000 mortgage, okay, $4,694.51 goes to principal in the first year. What if you were fortunate enough and you could pay the $4,694 in 1 month instead of over 12 months? What if you were fortunate enough to have enough money saved up to do that? Let me show you what would happen. You could be paid down to here in 1 month if you gave them this money on line one. You'd be paid down to here in 1 month. Correct? Okay. All right. All right. So if we can do this, if we could do it this way. So thank you for asking the question, but I understand that she's gone, but we're going to answer the question anyway. Somebody else will get a benefit out of it, and she can watch the replay. Watch this. $4,694.51 goes to principal. 27,000 would go to interest, but this is money now you don't have to pay because you gave them the money early. Okay, this went to okay, I see it. Okay, I see you there, Sonia. All right, here's what I'm talking about. $4,694.51, and this is how much interest you could save if we did that. Let's take a look. Let's do the math and put it in here. 27,161.77. I'm going to now divide this by 4694. 4694.51. There we go. Equals $1.50. $1.52. Let me do this one more time. Make sure that I got it right. 27,161.77 divided by 4694.51 equals, there it is. That's the right number. $5.79. $5.79 per dollar. For every dollar I place on this mortgage at this point, it saves me $5.79. Sonia, would it be important for you to know that if you gave the bank an extra dollar here, $1, it would make it impossible for the bank to charge you $5.79. You save $5.79 in interest for that $1. Would that be good to know? This is why it is important for us to know when I make one extra payment to my mortgage, it is important for us to be able to figure out how much interest I'm actually saving with one payment. When I know that, that's when I can start to optimize the use of my money. What do I mean by optimize, Sonia? I mean this. I want to make sure that when I place $1 on here, I'm saving the maximum amount of interest I can per dollar. I don't want to save any old amount. I want to save the most. When you say that, Sonia, when you say you want to save the most in interest, not just some, well, let's just say you're really fortunate and you can afford to pay any amount you want on this mortgage. Okay, let's take a look at line 24. Now, let me get my pen and make a note here. So we're saving $5.79. And the reason why it's 79 cents is because it's 5.785. And what the bank does, it rounds this number up, okay, to the next number. So it's $5.79. That's how they do it at the bank. All right. All right. So $5.79. 579. Now let's take a look at line 24. Okay. What if you could prepay $9,700 and knock off 24 months all at once and save $54,000 in interest? Let's take a look at that. Okay. So we're going to take the 54,009 and 15 cents and divide it by what we could prepay, $9703.41, divided by 97.03. There it is. And 41 cents equals $5.56 per dollar. Did you see that, Sonia? The first time we did that, we're saving $5.79 per dollar. Now we're saving $5. Oh, that's $5.57. Okay, $5.57 per dollar. So, Sonia, what if you knew the exact amount to pay on your mortgage, the exact amount on the right day, the exact amount on the right day, so that you knew that you could save the most in interest per dollar? Is there any reason for you to accept $5.57 in savings per dollar when you could have received 579 cents per dollar? Sonia says she's got it. That's what I mean by the law of diminished return. You pay too much at the wrong time, the amount of interest that you could save starts to go down, and nobody understands that because it's not being taught anywhere. We understand the law of diminished return every place else. You like jerk chicken? Okay. Too much jerk seasoning messes up the chicken. Okay. You like collard greens? Put too much salt in them greens and see what happens. We want to put the least amount of salt in the greens to bring out maximum taste. Are you hearing me? We want to put the right amount of onions in those greens to bring out maximum taste, the minimum amount that brings out maximum taste. We know how to do that in everything else except when it comes to managing debt. We are taught to give as much as we can, and it saves us more money. That is the biggest lie going, especially in terms of making down payments. Okay? When you make a down payment on this loan, you want to pay the minimum that you possibly can, not the most. And we're taught to do that. What else are you saying here, Sonia? Yep. It says, let me hear that. The right amount on the right day. Okay. And we're going to get into how that happens. How do you learn how to do the right amount on the right day? Okay. How do we learn how to do the right amount on the right day? And that's what this is what this whole thing, we're breaking it down to some micro terms so we can understand this thing from the ground up. I'm spending a lot of time here on what we are taught to do. So if I put a large down payment on the loan, let's say I have an extra $100,000 I could put down. And you come to me and ask me, Don, should I put an extra $100,000 down on this loan so that I could have a loan for $320,000 for 30 years instead of $420,000? I'm saying, I would ask first, can you afford the payment if it's $420,000? You say, yeah, I could afford it, but why should I when I could pay that money down? Okay. And get a $320,000 loan. Well, when you learn how to read this, you don't want to put a lot of money down on the loan. You want to get this loan, make your first payment, and you still have your $100,000, don't you? What if you added your $100,000 now as a principal prepayment to this loan? The reason why I love using this Brett Whistle, because I don't lose track of how much principal and how much interest I'm either paying or saving. Okay? So we're going to take a look at cumulative principal and how long will it take us to get to $100,000. And we're also going to look at, if I gave the bank $100,000 all at one time, what would it do for me? Okay? 100,000 instead of a down payment. What if we use it as a prepayment? Look at this. We scroll down till I see $100,000 on this loan, right around in here. between line 164 and 165. Okay? 164 and 165. Okay? 164, let's call it 165, divided by 12 equals 13, almost 14 years. 168 payments is 14 years. Do you realize, has anybody ever told you if you had an extra $100,000, instead of putting it as a down payment, you use that money as a prepayment, you would knock nearly 14 years off this loan right away? Oh, come on. Come on, everybody. How? 14. Listen, and I need to show you something. Let me show you something. They still have a $320,000 loan. It's right here. Still $320,000. So which would you rather have? A $320,000 loan, okay, for 30 years, doing it the bank's way, or you could have a $320,000 loan and you've already taken 13 years off. Uh-oh. And watch this. Watch this. You've already taken, if you pay that money as a prepayment and save yourself $337,000 in interest, you never have to pay the bank. $337,000. You never have to pay the bank. Now, if you work with us, we're going to show you how to use this money strategically. You wouldn't put it all out at one time. We're going to show you how to strategically apply this money. Let me show you. Storm, thank you very much for saying that. Can you see what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen? I need you to see this. I'm putting in here ice10k.com. It's scrolling across the screen. ice10k.com. We're going to take a little break and do a little commercial here. Okay? ice10k.com. If you want to know the month, day, and year you could be debt free, if you want to know how to optimize the use of your money, so when you optimize the use of your money, you're looking for not the most to put down on the debt, ladies and gentlemen. You're looking for the least amount to put on your debt, the least amount that's going to maximize the amount of interest you can save per dollar. Nobody on the internet is teaching that. Please don't take what you learn here and take it to your bank. Don't take it to your accountant. Don't take it to your real estate agent or the person that sold you your mortgage and ask them to tell you if this is true, because they did not learn it in their classes. Your CPA did not learn how a mortgage actually works in his or her class. Your cousin, who is a vice president at the largest bank in America, did not learn how a mortgage actually works and how to defeat it. If your cousin owned the bank, your cousin would know. But if your cousin works for the bank, I guarantee you they're not sharing that information. This, what I'm sharing with you, is true. And if your cousin knew it and didn't share it with you, you would be upset with your cousin. So let me tell you, the only place you're getting that is right here. And I need your help in getting the message out. So go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com, and scroll down under the picture here for E.T., Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. And we're going to play his video here in a second. Okay. We're going to play it in a second. All right. And scroll down and click on this button here. Get your savings and earnings report. Click on that and this will come up. Don't waste another dollar paying off the wrong debt. Don't do it. Don't waste another dollar paying off the wrong debt, paying it off in the wrong month, paying it off on the wrong day and the wrong amount. Get your free savings report today. Fill out this two-step process. Follow the directions that are right on here, and then you can know the month, day, and year you can be debt-free on all of your debt. That's your mortgage. That's your student loan. That's your credit cards. Okay? I need you. I need you to understand that you can not only know how much the month, day, and year you can be debt free, which is usually within a 7 to 9 year window on average. Can you imagine being out of debt in 7 to 9 years on your mortgage, your student loans, your credit cards, and your cars because of all the interest you did not have to give to the bank? And then we're going to show you how much interest you would save. And we're going to give you an example of what would happen if you invested that money instead of giving it to the bank. That's why it's called a savings and earnings report. We're going to give you an idea of how much money that money can earn for you and stop giving it to the bank and making them rich. Okay. So we're going to play. I'm going to get a drink of water, and we're going to play the video from Eric Thomas, the #1 motivational speaker on the planet right now. Let's hear what he has to say about this program.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
We're back. Listen, folks, can I get you to put some more questions in here? All right. We got a few more minutes left. You might as well take advantage. All right. Because to ask me, you can ask, listen, when you ask me a question, guess what I can't do? I can't withhold the information. We have promised here at the P.I.L.L Method to give you the answer to your questions. If you call me, if you call the office and set up an appointment, a consultation is $250 an hour. I can save you tens of thousands of dollars, even in one consultation. Okay. But you get to ask all those questions here for free. Any question you want. We have promised to answer it and not say, I'll take this offline. And we have to charge you for that answer. We don't do that here at the P.I.L.L Method. Not at all. So come on into the studio. We'd love to have you here, or put your questions in the chat right now. All right. So let's get back here. So I need you to see this, that you can fill out the savings and earnings report. Okay. Plus going back to the digital business card, ice10k.com. That's ICE, the number 10, the letter K.com. And you can click on this button to become an affiliate. It only takes 15 seconds to fill that out. I need your help getting the information out. I need your help. So telling other people about it, put in your name, your phone number, your email address, and how you want to get paid. It takes about 15 seconds. That's it. Free. It's free to become an affiliate. Now, when you fill this out, we don't send an email out right away. Believe me, we will receive your submission. When you hit submit, we receive it. And about a week later, you'll get an email giving you some instructions on how to become an affiliate. And also from once or twice a month, we have affiliate training. Okay. And we're going to be sending you out emails so that you can know when that affiliate training is going to take place. You can make anywhere from $300 to $3,000 a month as an affiliate, not selling anything. You don't have to sell. All you have to do is point people to our YouTube channel. Okay. Point people to our YouTube channel. And when you point them to our YouTube channel, all right, then you follow up with them in a couple of days after. Here, let me bring this over here. Okay. Here's our YouTube channel. That's that's the one that's on live right now. All right. Pay off all your debt in 7 years. We're going to be back on Sunday and do another show. All right. On how to take debt and turn it into wealth. We're going to talk about that. Okay. So have them watch the videos, follow up with them in a couple of days, ask them if they want more information. If they say yes, go back to the same card here, the same site, scroll down underneath my picture and click on refer a friend. And you fill that out. Okay. When you fill that out, look what, and then you put in their name, their phone number, their email address, and their zip code. Very important. So we'll know what time to call. You put in your name and number, who referred them, who referred that person. You put your name and number in here and then give us any additional information about them and then click submit. We get that information and we will contact that person. We'll take it from there. There's no selling. There's no explaining on your part. Watch videos. Find out if they want more information. Fill this out. That's it. No explaining. No selling. Once they become a client, I'll pay you $300. Okay? If you send us a second one in the same month, that one is going to be worth $400. The next one after that, $500. The next one after that, $600. That's in the same month. You send us a fifth one in the same month that becomes a client, that one is worth $1,200 to you for a total of $3,000 in a month. How about that? Become an affiliate. Help us to get the message out. Will you please send people to the website, to our YouTube channel so that they can learn how they can cut their interest costs by 75% and pay off all of their debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. Okay. Now we're going to finish up today. Okay. I've got a few minutes left with you. All right. And let's see if I have any more, questions to handle or comments. All right. So let's go back to the amortization calculator. Just to give us the basics of, you want to bust up the debt? You've got to know how the bank calculates the debt, how to read an amortization schedule so that you can now start developing a plan to get out of debt more efficiently, not fast, more efficiently. This is what I mean by efficiently. We had a client who paid off a car. Okay. They paid off their car and they had a mortgage of, what was their mortgage? Okay. It was $400,000 at 4%. This was a little while ago. Okay. $400,000 at 4%. That was their mortgage. All right. And when they called, they said, well, I paid off my car. I took $40,000 out of the bank and paid off my car. The $700 I'm no longer paying on the car. I'm putting that on the mortgage every single month. And I said, well, that's what the experts are teaching. That's what Dave Ramsey teaches. It's called the snowball method. Susie Orman is teaching that. A lot of people teach the snowball method. Take that money that used to go to this one debt and put it over here. I said, well, that's what the experts are teaching. Why are you calling me? Why are you calling the P.I.L.L method? He said, because I watched some of your videos online on your YouTube channel, and I'm wondering if I did the wrong thing. So my first question to him was, how much interest did you save when you paid off your car? You know, he had no idea how much interest he saved. I said, well, that's a problem, because we don't pay off debt just to pay off debt. We pay off debt to cancel the interest so we can borrow our money at a discount. We don't want to pay our debt off fast. We want to pay it off cheap. Cheap becomes fast. Fast isn't always cheap. Remember that. Okay? Pay off your debt cheap but fast isn't always cheap, but cheap is always fast. Here's what I mean. He paid off his car. He paid off his car. And when he paid off his car, I did the math for him. He saved $7,000. If he had taken that $40,000 and put it on this mortgage instead, look at cumulative principal and cumulative interest. He took 40,000 of his dollars and he got a $7,000 interest savings by putting it on the car. If he had put it on his mortgage, this $40,000, look here, he would have knocked off over 5 years off his loan and saved himself nearly $80,000 in interest. He took $40,000 because he could only spend that $40,000 one time. He took it and saved $7,000 with it when he could have taken that same amount of money and saved almost $80,000 with that same amount of money. That's called opportunity cost. And this is why we have what we call an opportunity cost calculator that does all of the math so you don't make these kinds of mistakes. We have been taught that anything I can do to get out of debt is as good as any other thing I can do to get out of debt. And that just ain't true. What these people are teaching is practically criminal. Teaching the debt snowball and teaching the avalanche methods, because we pay way too much interest using that method. Listen, there's a big difference between saving $7,000 in interest and saving $80,000 in interest using the same money. $73,000 difference. It's not a small difference. It's a big difference. And that's what's happening. So, Sonia, what are you saying to me here? Okay. So it says, how to get out of debt more efficiently sounds like music to my debts. Thanks, Don. I'll be in touch. All right. So here's what we're looking for, folks. We want to be more efficient with our funds. I did a show a couple of days ago. Okay. You'll find that show on our channel. And our channel is going to get a facelift here a little bit. All right. You'll find that show on our channel. And it's called The Awful History Behind the 30-Year Mortgage. Not only do I go into the history of how loans are done in the United States, I do a whole thing with Chat GPT and asking the chat, who's teaching this kind of thing? Should we be teaching this kind of thing? What we teach here at the P.I.L.L method, is it taught in any other university in the United States? Is it taught anywhere else? Does this information exist in any other books? You want to see this video and see how important this idea of an AI-powered, artificially intelligent, cloud-based computing platform. You want to know how powerful that is. When it comes down to calculating how much money to pay out of the money that I have to work with, what month to pay it in, what day of the month to pay it on, and which loan to attack, so that I can increase the amount of interest that I'm saving per dollar. I want to optimize the use of my money. Okay? Here is what the opportunity cost calculator looks like. I'm going to bring it over on the screen. You need to know that there's a program out there that even when you go to the Open AI and ask Open AI, what kind of program would I need to do all the things that Don is talking about? It will describe this program right here. It will describe that in detail. Okay, it's right here. So let me put this right in here. And this is what we're talking about. Opportunity cost is profound. opportunity cost. Listen, do you realize it takes so many calculations to figure out if you have a certain amount of money, there's so many different ways you can spend that money. You can spend a certain amount on any number of days or any number of months, or you can spend a different amount. How much of that money do I need to spend to get the result that I'm looking for? And this program will do all of that math. What day, how much, when, it does all of that. So it can optimize the use of your money. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. This is John and Rebecca Jones, okay? In the last couple of minutes, John and Rebecca Jones, by following this program, they're told, and they if they start out in the month of November, okay, they're told by the time they get to December here to put $550.03 extra on their mortgage, and it saves them let me bring this up a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. It saves them $2,715 in interest. Okay? $2,715 in interest if they do that. Do you see how the program stops at 3 cents? $550.03, no more. Any more, then you start to violate the law of diminished return. So if we take this $2,715 and divide it by $550.03, we get $4.93, $4.94, $4.94. Okay. Now, if we tell the program, no, I don't want to do that, they have over $5,000 in the bank. They could easily do $1,550, okay, and 3 cents. And that would change how much interest they would save. And this program actually records it right up here where it says actual interest saved. So if we execute that, all right, and listen, and it says pay that on 12/17. Yeah, I'm going to pay it when I pay my mortgage on the first of the month. Okay, boom, right there. We're going to pay it on the first of the month, not on 12/17, but on the first of the month. So we're going to execute that right now. We're going to pay what we want more, and we're going to pay it early and see that our new interest savings is actually $7,535. Okay. So if we take that $7,535 and divide it by what we paid on the mortgage, so because we can always see what we paid, go into accounts, and we see what we paid extra, all right, on the mortgage. Go into history, and we look at what we actually paid. We've actually paid $1,550.03. So we bring back our calculator, divide it by 1550.03. Here's how much interest we save per dollar. $4.86. Okay? Instead of what we could have saved. Isn't that crazy? We actually save more money paying less. Save more money per dollar paying less. It is important to know how much to pay, what month to pay it in, what day of the month to pay it on, to save the maximum amount of interest that we possibly can. All right? So this is why we do what we do, ladies and gentlemen, so that you can have the best idea ever of what to do. We're going to be back here on Sunday, going over how to take that debt. We showed you how the basics, okay, of busting up the debt, what you need to know to bust up the debt to save as much money as you possibly can. Save more money, get out of debt faster. Pay more money in interest, stay in debt longer. All right. We're going to be turning your debt into wealth, and we're going to be talking about that on Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Central. That's 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, when we're going to go deeply into what happens when you don't have to pay all of that money to the bank. You should be putting that money to work to build up your family's net worth and have, we're truly going to be talking about generational wealth. Regular families, W-2 earners, can become millionaires just from the interest they don't pay. Oh, Lord have mercy. Listen, let's hear from Dr. Eric Thomas one more time before we say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for being here. And the next time we come, I need you to come to the stage. I need you to talk to me. Okay, let's have a conversation. I love the questions that you put in the chat. I want you to know that. See ya, and see you on Sunday.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.